Hey everybody, welcome to Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams along with the man sitting over here. No, wait, I'll do that way. Chris King. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Good, Jim. I see we had a new beginning there. I see you guys had to shoehorn Leonard Fournette into the opening.
That was mine. I felt compelled to put Lenny in there. It is what it is. Here we are a day after the weekend, and people are still having a weekend hangover from the NFL. Any thoughts on yesterday, or anything that when you opened the paper this morning or opened your apps on your phone that strikes you as interesting today?
Yeah, I'd like to see Colin Cowherd shut up, because he said basically the same thing Louis Riddick did about overtime rules. I didn't like Cowherd when he was at ESPN. I thought he was a blowhard then. I think he's still a blowhard now at Fox Sports. How guys like that get multiple jobs for having absolutely no substantive conversations about anything and just spewing out hot air is beyond me. I guess that's just the way the media market is. It boils down to, whether you like the way the game unfolded Sunday or not. The fact is that, and this was a stat that I dug up yesterday after the show, since the playoff overtime rule was instituted in 2010, there's been games that have gone to overtime. 10 have been won by the team that won the coin toss. 7 of them end on the opening drive. Now, obviously, there has to be some sort of tweak there, because you're saying basically that you played well for 60 minutes. You lost a coin flip, and 63.6% of the time in that small sample size, you don't get a chance to respond because the other team scores.
Right. Well, let's throw a little poll out there. I'm gonna give you 3 options. You tell me what you think the NFL is going to do. Okay. Option number 1.
Probably nothing.
I'm sorry?
I said probably nothing.
I was going to say, well, here's your option. Number 1, nothing. Okay. Number 2, they're going to take it into consideration and do nothing. Then they're going to take it into consideration and actually change it. So there's your 3 options. Give me your best estimate per, 75%. This is the chance. 25%. Whatever. Give me your thoughts on.
It's probably about 97% for nothing. 2% of them will consider it. Right. And then do nothing, and 1% on some fluke where a meteor hits and eviscerates half the free world, that they actually change something.
Just their offices on Park Avenue.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm more on the side of, I would give it maybe 50% nothing, 42 or 44%, we're going to look into it, but still do nothing. And again, like you, the smaller percentile in the 2 to 3 range, that they might actually change it. I don't think they're going to do it, but I do think that they'll say, well, we're going to take it to the, like they always do, the rules committee and the competition committee, and let them talk about it. They'll do a report, they'll get back to us, and they'll pray and hope that everybody forgets about it by the draft. So, we'll see. But anyway.
I don't think anybody's going to forget about it, because that game's going to be replayed like 37 times on the NFL Network every week between now and next season, because they don't have anything else to show other than, NFL Total Access, which bores people after a while.
Right. Well, the other thing too is I can't go to New Orleans, or I can't speak to a Saints fan who still isn't talking about, changing the pass interference rules. So, and that game was, 4 years ago?
Right, 3 years ago. And sadly, that was the one game where the coin toss was won by the team that lost.
Right. There you go, boys and girls. You heard it here from Mr. King. All right. Well, Chris, people are sitting there going, I wish you guys would get to college basketball. So, without any further ado, by the way, first though, James, before you do it and say it, because I know you will, and I appreciate that. James, buddy, here's the deal. Smash the like button and the subscribe button so that you can make sure that you know when we're going to be on. And just because Chris and I are very insecure, we need to know you like us. So please smash that, okay? All right, Christopher, where are we going tonight on the hardwood?
We're going to go to Idaho.
Our buddies, the Cowboys of Wyoming.
Yep, they're on the road. They're going to face Boise State. We talked about Boise State yesterday in that absolute rock fight with San Diego State where they won 42-37. And a game that probably set basketball back about 100 years. Neither teams did anything offensively in that game. Now they have to face a Wyoming team that's good on the offensive end. Wyoming's 15-2. Boise State's 15-4. The Broncos 7-2 at the Extra Mile Arena. Wyoming's 5-1 on the road, though. And Wyoming is an effective offensive team. They're 40th in the nation in scoring offense, 78.4 points a game. They're 40th in field goal percentage. They're 41st in threes per game. They're 42nd in three-point shooting, so they're consistently up in the upper tier. They're going to face a Boise State team that can play defense. Let's not take that away from them. The Broncos 6th in scoring defense, giving up 57.9 points a game. They're 42nd in field goal percentage as opposing teams shoot 40% from the floor. And they're 10th by only giving up 4.9 threes a game. But here's where you run into problems if you're Leon Price. Boise State is not a big offensive team. Obviously, if you scored 42 points in a win, you're not very good. They're 277th in scoring offense, 67.8 points a game. They're 208th in field goal percentage. And, Jim, look at that free throw percentage number. 357th out of 358 teams in Division I at 59%. They can't put teams away. There was no reason that San Diego State should have been in that game the other day when they scored 37 points. They actually led 37-35 with less than 2 minutes to go because Boise State can't hit free throws. And that's the problem here. Sure, you're favored by 5, but that doesn't mean you're going to knock down free throws and put away a Wyoming team that's a veteran team that has plenty of experience, and they've got 3, 4, 5 guys that can score double figures on any given night. Wyoming's 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 against teams with a winning percentage above 600. 8-2 in their last 10 after allowing more than 90 points. They beat New Mexico 93-91 over the weekend, so you know they can score. And they're 4-1 in their last 5 on Tuesday. I'm not saying that they're going to go into Boise and beat Boise State outright, but Boise State's not going to run them out of the gym the way they've beaten some other teams. And the way they can't knock throws is going to keep Wyoming in it right to the end, and that allows them to cover.
Well, I mean, we've been very bullish on Wyoming, and there's with good reason. I mean, Wyoming has done well for us, and as you said, they've been in a situation where you can look at them in any different way, but you got to say that they at least merit some sort of consideration. And by the way, you can watch that game tonight on if you have CBS Sports Network, you can watch it on that. Or if you've got your phone handy, I strongly recommend you download the CBS Sports app because there's a lot of games, both pro and college, that you can watch on the CBS Sports app. All you have to do is download it to your phone. So if you want to watch tonight's game, you can download it on your tablet, on your app, or if you have CBS Sports on your cable or satellite provider, then you can do it. So you can watch the game tonight on CBS Sports starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time for those of you who are interested. And I think, Chris, it might, you got 2 very decent teams out there, and this might be one of those games that might merit a little look in.
Yeah, it's better than watching, some of the other games that are on the circuit tonight. Like, let's just throw one out there. Nobody wants to see Fordham and Dayton, for example, except people that are A-10 fans. Or, nobody wants to see or Air Force San Jose State.
Yeah, that might be
Boise State over those.
Hard to sell.
Yeah, and one other thing about Wyoming, their 2 losses, lost at Arizona, and everybody knows how well the Wildcats have played for Tommy Lloyd.
Right.
And they lost to Stanford in the Diamond Head Classic by 3.
Mm-hmm.
And Stanford's not a bad team. They're 11-6. They already beat USC a couple weeks ago. Remember when USC was still unbeaten?
Right.
So I mean, you lost to 2 teams from the Pac-12 that are playing good basketball. That's it.
Right. You know, it's funny too. One final little note here, just for those of you who are considering tuning in tonight, you should know that the Boise State basketball court is not blue. Okay, so just in case you're wondering, it's not blue. All right. So
I can also tell you that Kevin Kugler will not be on the call of that game, so you won't be bored to tears listening to it. It'll hopefully be somebody that has some semblance of commentary skill.
Well, we'll tune in and find out. I'm not sure who's doing the game, but full marks to our buddies at CBS Sports. They usually come up with some pretty decent announcers. So from Boise out west, we move to.
We're gonna stay out west. We're gonna go to Fort Collins.
Oh, okay.
The Colorado State Rams, ranked number 22 in the country, they're favored by 8.5 over Nevada. Nevada's 9-7 this season, but the Colorado Rams 15-1 for Coach Nico Medved. We talked about their one loss this season came to San Diego State. So again, we're talking about they didn't lose to a doormat.
Yeah.
Colorado State's 9-0 at home this year. Nevada's just 1-3 on the road. Colorado State 38th in the nation in scoring offense at 78.6 points per game. They're third in field goal percentage, hitting 50.2% from the floor. They're 18th in three-point shooting. And look at that, Jim. We just talked about Boise State sucking at the free throw line. Colorado State 80% as a team, 6th in the country. When they get a chance to bury you, you might as well put the nails in the coffin yourself, because they're not going to give you free passes there. Meanwhile, Steve Alford's team, 318th in scoring defense, 75.3 points per game, 218th in field goal percentage defense, 351st in threes per game allowed at 9.8. They're 286th in three-point percentage defense at 35.3%. Colorado State 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 against teams with a winning straight-up record. Nevada 1-6 in their last 7 against teams with a winning record, 1-6 in their last 7 overall, and 0-4 in their last 4 after a straight-up win. Colorado State, they go 10 deep, and that's something you don't really see in college hoops these days, especially in a mid-major. But they've got an experienced team. Isaiah Stevens is in there. David Roddy. I mean, they've got a really good club there. Medved's put together a formidable rotation. And they've got guys that can step up on any given night. It's not just going to be one guy. Nevada's going to have their hands full, especially going on the road here for Colorado State to win this one by double figures and cruise to their 16th win of the season as they prepare to continue their dominance in the Mountain West. 5-1 in the conference today. They'll face Wyoming next week.
Well, it's to me, we just hit on 2 basketball programs that are really quite entertaining. And, I don't see why more people aren't watching these kind of games, because they're compelling. They're worth the time and the effort to watch. And there's so many games out there that are bad. This is not one of them. And by the way, this one's going to get national exposure on FS1. So if you
at least they'll be good commentators then.
I'm sorry?
I said at least they'll be decent commentators then.
Right. So FS1, it could be. I can't promise because I don't know, but it could be our buddy Timmy Brandt, or I'm sorry, Tim. Why am I'm blanking on Tim's name? I'll think of it in a second. It'll come back to me. He used to be at CBS, and now he's doing Fox.
Who, Brando?
Brando, thank you, Tim Brando. Could be Tim Brando because he does FS1's college sports, so could be him.
Well, look at that. Elliot says he wants to see Air Force lose.
Okay, Elliot, that's okay. Who are they playing?
And he also thought that there was bluegrass on the court in Boise.
It's not bluegrass, but it's blue turf. It's called the Smurf turf. So yeah, it's turf. Don't worry about it. Like I said, on the actual hardwood, you don't have to worry about. They're not blue on that. But okay.
And Ryan said Morehead State lost the spread by a stupid missed free throw at the end of last night's game. I don't know what the line ended up as. I know it was 13.5 when we did the show. I think it went down slightly. I'm not sure what it ended at. But, look at the bright side. We did say Murray State was going to win, and they just steamrolled.
Well, it goes back to your point, Chris, and that is the thing that you and I get so upset about when watching basketball, whether it's college or professional, is if you can't hit free throws, you're not going to be a championship team. And last night we found out that Morehead State can't hit free throws. They're free, okay? 3 points, okay? When you don't take 3 points, you can't basically, there's no crying in basketball when you miss your free throws, okay, by the other team.
Yeah, Morehead State was 11 of 18 at the stripe last night, 61%. That's, not all that compelling.
Unfortunately, that 61 to somewhere between the 70-ish to 61 is where most college basketball major programs is at this point in time. That's crazy.
That's true.
So
yeah, it's ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah, we're hoping Friday to have with us our first woman sports director who is coming, and her name is Allison Posey. And we can talk to Allison about this. Allison is the queen of Tallahassee. She's got the #1 sports show in Tallahassee at WXLT, which is Channel 27, the ABC affiliate, the home for all things FSU. And she also covers Florida A&M, so she knows about the MEAC, and she knows about
the Rattlers.
And the Rattlers, right? So we'll talk to her about what's going on with Leonard Hamilton's team. She can talk ACC with us, and she can also and will also talk to us about the championship weekend in professional football. So looking forward to seeing Allison as our Friday guest, because Fridays are our guest day. All right. Meanwhile,
just to touch on what you were saying about free throws, Jim, out of the top 20 in the country, there are 3 teams from major conferences. By the flip side, there are 3 from the Horizon League alone.
In the top 6?
In the top 20 in free throw percentage.
Who are the top 3 from the major conferences?
Villanova is #1 at 82.4%.
Doesn't surprise me, Jay.
Yeah, Utah is 5th. And then you have to go down to Texas is 17th.
Wow. Okay.
But in there, like I said, you've got you look at it, Oakland is 12th, Purdue, Fort Wayne, the Mastodons are 14th, Detroit Mercy is 18th, and those are 3 teams just from the Horizon by themselves that match up with. You have as many from the.
Who's #1?
What's that?
Who's #1?
Villanova.
Okay. Well, Jay Wright
is 2, and Montana is 3.
Jay Wright doesn't surprise me. Jay Wright is very much a fundamentals kind of a coach. Almost Wooden-esque, from John Wooden, but not so much. All right. Well, we now know that we've had 2 trips out west. We've given you some opportunities to take a look at those 2 games. Plus, we tell you where to watch them. So from there, we're going to move to the ice, Chris.
Yep. And one second, I'm just checking. As of earlier this morning, Ryan, there was no update on whether Kofi Cockburn was going to play. I'll keep an eye on it and see if there's any updates that come up. He did supposedly practice yesterday, so there is that. But Brad Underwood said yesterday afternoon, I have no say in it. I have zero control. I don't even ask. I don't talk to our medical professionals. We have a procedural process in place within our department. We have to follow that to the guideline. I don't ask. I don't say anything about medical issues, and I don't talk to them. I coach the guys who can show up. When they tell me they can play, they can play.
Okay. Well, we'll find
out. Brad Underwood knows nothing, claims to know nothing, and is going to say nothing until
Schultz theory. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. He might as well change his name to I See Nothing because
that would be it. So Illinois
nobody,
Big L is a game time decision, I guess.
yeah, he's marked as questionable.
Yeah, that means he's a game time decision. So
Right.
We'll see. It's funny what they do. Just a little behind the scenes there. What they do is when that happens, if they really are, he's probably gone through it. Well, they play tonight at what, 8:00 or something like that, 7:00.
Yeah, it's at 7. They play at home against Michigan State.
Okay, so they're at Michigan State. It's a 7:00 game. All right, so approximately 3:00 they'll come out and do a, what would be considered a full-on practice. It's not a lot of running. It's just enough running to get them, loose. Then they'll come back out. If it's a 7:00 tip, they'll come back out about 6:30 or maybe a little before 6:30 for more of a shoot around. During that shoot around, if your ankle or whatever your ailment is that you don't feel quite up to it, that's when the game time decision is made. It may be made this afternoon if he can't run back and forth up and down the court a little bit. So we'll see. But between 3:00 and about 6:15 tonight, sometime in that frame, we'll find out. So Anyway, so there you go. Meanwhile, hot on the ice.
We had a good night on the ice last night, Jim. We talked about 6 different games on the ice, and we hit all 6 of them. So
you did,
that's too bad.
As a fan of the Caps, I was interested in seeing them get stoned by Vegas. Vegas just shut them out last night. So good on George McPhee. I told you that George had basically a chip on his shoulder, and that if there's anything humanly possible he could do to get Vegas to get by the Capitals, it was going to happen. And they played. In all fairness, they outplayed the Caps. There weren't any doubt about it.
Well, yeah, well, it's like you said Saturday when they were behind 2-0 in the third period against Ottawa before having a rally. I mean, they've been kind of flat of late. Speaking of the Caps, and that's why they've bounced from the top of the Metropolitan. I believe they're 4th.
Yeah, they're 4th.
Carolina and the Rangers and Pittsburgh all playing well.
Well, it's hard to play from behind, and in hockey, and against good teams. I mean, sometimes it's not hard to play when you're playing bad teams, but in the Metropolitan Division, from top to bottom, there's enough good teams to give you grief, and we're looking at one of them right here in the Flyers and the Islanders. These 2 teams are not good, but they aren't annoying. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and we're going to back the Islanders here. I put the money line up there just because so people can see how bad it is. That shows how horrible Philadelphia has played of late. That a 500 team is favored by that much. The Flyers 13-21-8. The Islanders are back at 500 at 14-14-6. They're 7-7-3 at home. Philadelphia 7-11-4 on the road. That next number is horrible. The Flyers are 0-9-3 in their last 12. They were beaten last night 3-1 at home by Dallas, which we told you would happen. Martin Jones 6-7-2 with a 352 goals against and a 902 save percentage is expected to get the start tonight for the Flyers. Take note, in his last start, which was Saturday against the Sabres, he got shelled for 4 goals in 18 minutes. and got pulled in a 6-3 loss at Buffalo Saturday. Ilya Sorokin, 11-7-5, with a 226 goals against, the 928 save percentage, and 4 shutouts in net for the Islanders. These teams met in that home-and-home set last week, Jim, and we told you that the Islanders were going to win Monday and then win Tuesday, and they did. Then we told you that Steen and Reichel stole our pick for that at the farm. Apparently, they got their feathers ruffled with that, but the fact remains they don't really pay attention to hockey, and Steen will tell you that himself. The Flyers, they struggle on the road. They only average 2.05 goals per game on the road this season. They put up 1 in the meeting at the UBS Arena last week. They're 0-5 in their last 5 against the Metropolitan Division, 0-5 in their last 5 as a road underdog. The Islanders have won their last 8 games as a favorite, and they're 1 in their last 6 when their opponent scores 2 goals or less. Probably most damning for the Flyers. They're 0-7 in the last 7 meetings with the Islanders. You look and see that they're 0-9-3 in the 12 and playing the second game of back-to-back. and playing Martin Jones and net, it all adds up to a bad night for the Broad Street Baby by the Islanders. Also, it was sad to see Clark Gillies passed away last week. Key part of that Islanders dynasty in the early 80s. Look for the Islanders to bounce back from that loss to Toronto Saturday night as they get back in the win column here.
You know, I don't know if it's me, but Sorokin should actually be better than that number, 11, 7, and 5.
If Toronto team scored any goals.
Yeah, that would be helpful too. When you're winning games 1-0 and 2-1, it does make it difficult to have. It's kind of like what's in pitching. You see that one guy, right? Who almost every team has one, where they have a pitcher who will go out and pitch their heart out for 7 or 8 innings and give up maybe 1 run, and the other team doesn't score. Then you get a guy who has a 5.7 ERA and he's getting 9 runs.
He's got 14. He's 14-2.
Right. He's getting 9 runs a game, and you're like, how come that's happening? So, I mean, to me, Sorokin's one of those guys who should be better because he's actually a good goalkeeper. But
Sorokin and Quick both remind me of the way Dominic Hasek's numbers were when he played
for
the Saints in the 90s.
Good analogy. Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go from were they playing at the Island or in Philly?
Yep, that's at the UBS Arena.
Okay, so off the island we go to
Pittsburgh.
The Glass House.
Yep, and they're going to face everybody's favorite team, the Arizona Cactus.
Say it with us. Fade Arizona.
Yeah, the actual money line on this game is ridiculous. I didn't even bother to put it up. That's how nauseating it is. In case you were wondering, the current money line on this game is Pittsburgh going off at minus 470. Arizona's at plus 350. That's why I put the money line up. That's still a hefty minus. But, you got to pick something there. The Coyotes 10-20-4. Pittsburgh 26-10-5. Arizona's 5-13-3 on the road. They lost to the Islanders last Thursday 4-0, or Friday, I should say, 4-0. Then they lost to the Rangers 7-3 Saturday. And again, they led 3-1 in the second period. So you figure out what happened after that. The Penguins 12-5-2 at home. They've won 5 in a row. They beat Winnipeg 3-2 in a shootout on Sunday. Trailing 2-0 in the third, the Penguins scored twice in 9 seconds to tie it up and send that game into the overtime and then the shootout. The Coyotes 31st in goals per game at 2.23. Their last goals against at 3.7. It's supposed to be Karel Vejmelka, 6-15-1 with a 328 goals against, a 905 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Though you never know, they could switch it up, and you could see everybody's favorite guy, Scott Wedgwood, 4-10-3 with a 337 goals against and an 893 save percentage. Either way, it doesn't matter. Tristan Jerry between the pipes for the Penguins. He's 22-7-4 with a 209 goals, a 928 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. The Coyotes, that's not a typo, 2-15 in their last 17 after giving up 5 goals or more. 0-4 in their last 4 on 2 days of rest. Penguins 9-2 in their last 11 after allowing 2 or less in their last game. And they're 21-5 in their last 26. Now think about that. They have more games, more than twice as many games in their last 26 games as the Coyotes have won all season.
One of the things that's interesting to me about this is the Penguins on the weekends, right? When they play on the weekends out of town, if it's like Philly or Washington or New York, they travel. They have a good following who actually go, and it's kind of like Steeler fans. I mean, you see that black and gold in the arenas all over the East Coast. So when they play, away games on the weekends, Pittsburgh will send a couple of buses of fans out there, and they do represent not just in the postseason, but in the regular season as well. So the Pens are at the Ice House, and you know what's going to happen. Good night, Coyotes. Okay.
Yep. So, Elliot said he can't wait to put $500 on the Penguins money line to win $100 and change.
Elliot, you couldn't be more right, my friend. Just out of curiosity, taking the one, the goal and a half, right?
Right.
He's definitely not going to have to put $400 up to get. He'll do better. Put the 400 on the point and a half. You got a better chance there, buddy. You're not going to take. It's not going to take $400 to win one. That's for sure. All right, so to the association we go.
Yep, we're going to head to Detroit.
Oh God.
On the road to face the Pistons. I know everyone's excited about any game that features the Detroit Pistons because usually they lose. Well, that's probably going to be the case again tonight. Let's face it, the Pistons are 11-35. Meanwhile, the Nuggets 24-21. These teams met Sunday night in the front game of a home-and-home set, with the Nuggets taking a 117-111 win, though they did blow a 16-point lead after the third quarter. That game was actually tied with under 2 minutes to go, but Detroit ran out of gas. Detroit's 29th in the league in scoring offense at 102. They're 29th in field goal percentage. They're 29th in three-point shooting, so they're just bad all the way around. Denver is playing the front half of a back-to-back. They'll face the Nets on the road tomorrow, but that's as they say on How I Met Your Mother, that's future Ted's problem. That's not their problem tonight.
Right.
Detroit 24-1 in their last 35 following an ATS win. They are 3-8 in their last 11 after scoring 100 points. They're 0-4 in their last 4 on Tuesday. Just a quick look at the injury report. Jeremy Grant still out. He's in the health and safety protocols. Along with that thumb injury, he probably won't be back until February. Kelly Olynyk is in the protocols as well. He's out. Frank Jackson questionable as he under reconditioning. For Denver, Will Barton is probable with the right hamstring. Jeff Green and Marcus Howard both questionable. Of course, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter are out. It's not a surprise there. Either way, you have to think they still have Nikola Jokic, and when you got a guy like that, it doesn't matter who's playing.
Right.
Denver should win because the Pistons don't have anybody that can match up with them.
In the very important statistical area here for me, Denver has really cool set of alternate jerseys. There's all kinds of cool stuff that Denver has in their alternate jerseys. So I would pick
the old 80s jersey.
What? I'm sorry?
The old 80s jersey was cool.
Yeah, it was. They've got just Mile High. They've got all kinds of fun stuff with the little, Rocky Mountains there. Yeah, they look like a Coors commercial at some point. But yeah, it's very cool. No question about it. So pick them just for the uniforms. They'll win. 7 points. All right. From Motown, where do we motor next?
The city of brotherly love, where there's a team that actually can. There's actually a team there that can actually win games once in a while, though they don't seem to do it at home much. But
heaven forbid.
The 76ers favored by 8.5 over the Pelicans. Pelicans 18-28, 76ers 27-19. Surprisingly, the 76ers are 17-9 on the road and just 10-10 at home this season. A vast role reversal from previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a point of emphasis on that, just to take a look going back to last year, Philadelphia's record at home was a sparkling 29-7. Compared to a 20-16 road mark the year before that, when the season was shortened by COVID, they were 31-4 at home and 12-26 on the road. And even going back to 2018-19, they were 31-10 at home and 20-21 on the road. So I don't know what's going on where they can't win at the Wells Fargo Center. If here it doesn't matter, really. The Pelicans playing the second game of back-to-back. They outlasted Indiana last night, 117-113. They struggle in the second game of back-to-backs. They're 1-6 this season. They've been outscored by 9.2 points, scoring 103.7 points a game while giving up 113.3. The Pelicans were 6-15 against the spread in their last 21 on the road, 1-4 in their last 5 in the second game of back-to-back. Philadelphia is 8-1 in their last 9 after allowing 100 points or more, 7-2 in their last 9 when their opponent gets at least 100, and they're 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 overall. The latest injury report shows Devontae Graham will not play tonight for the Pelicans with a sore ankle. Josh Hart is out with an ankle sprain. Brandon Ingram is out with an ankle sprain. Kira Lewis is out with a knee injury. Trey Murphy III is in the health and safety protocols. And Jonas Valanciunas will be rested. So I would jump on this number before it gets to some ridiculous point because now that the Pelicans have ruled out 85 guys, you have to think that number is going to change. Philadelphia won't have Seth Curry. He's out with a sore ankle. Danny Green out with a hip. Shake Milton still out with a back issue. Ben Simmons, we don't even talk about him. Matisse Thybulle is questionable with a shoulder sprain.
Well, the most important thing, if you happen to be out there tonight, is, you want to go. What's that?
I said, go get a cheesesteak.
That's what I was going to say. And if you're wondering, Tony Luke's, Pat's King of Steaks, Geno's, and my favorite, Jim's. Now, it's not me, but it's another Jim. So those are the four. If you happen to be in Philly tonight and want a cheesesteak, that's where you want to go. And do not, under any circumstances, go bougie on us and not get the canned spray cheese on your cheesesteak. That is where you want to go. Anybody puts anything on there like a designer cheese, it's not a Philadelphia cheesesteak. Okay, cool enough. All right. So from the Broad Street,
you heard it here first, folks. Don't skimp on the whiz.
That's right. Don't skimp on the whiz. Absolutely.
Ryan, to your point about the Flyers maybe being due, they're 0-9-3, and you're starting a guy that just gave up 4 goals in 18 minutes to Buffalo. Buffalo. We're not talking about you were facing the Avalanche or the Panthers. You gave up 4 goals in 18 minutes against Buffalo. I don't have any faith in Martin Jones. I don't have any faith in the Flyers. I think that, the Carolina Islanders parlay is a pretty good one. I mean, Carolina's going to get Vegas in the second game of a back-to-back tonight, and they're at home. They always play well at the PNC Arena. And like I said, Philadelphia is just terrible. They have 2 double-digit losing streaks this season.
Hey, Elliot, I think you might have something there. What do you think, Chris?
What's that?
Elliot might have something there. He's got a.
I think that it's going to be tough for Vegas to keep up with Carolina. Carolina has a good offensive attack, and they're very good in their own zone.
It was a physical game they played last night. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, with Vegas expending so much energy to win 1-0 yesterday, I wonder what they're going to have in the tank. Will they start Leonard again in both halves of a back-to-back or not? That's not really their trend normally, and I'm not really sure. Apparently, they're showing Laurent Brosseau will get the start for Vegas. He's been okay. He's 8-3-1, but he's not Frederick Anderson, who apparently realized he can still play hockey after he left Toronto and took that deal in Carolina as a free agent. And I'm just worried whether Vegas can keep up offensively given all their injuries.
Yeah, and plus, like I said, like you were talking about, they did play a physical game with Washington last night. It was rough. It was, a lot of shots. And, it's hard in a 1-0 game not to expel a great deal of energy.
Yeah, it's not like you're coasting a lot because you got a 3 or 4 goal lead.
No, you're busting it, especially you're one Ovechkin, slap shot away from being tied. So,
right.
Yeah, it's, I'm pretty sure they're going to be gassed by the time they hit the ice tonight. So we'll see. But Carolina at home, I wouldn't, and again, like I was joking about, George McPhee wants to win. If he's going to split, home and home, if he's going to split a back-to-back, he'll take the win in Washington and he'll take the loss in Carolina.
I would agree with that.
So, all right. So, we are now. Do we have any more NBA, or we're going to the 2 for the show? 2 for the money.
Go to the. Yep.
2 for the money. Let's go. All right.
Couple games.
Ramblers.
Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers, the Gambling boys, minus 12.5 over Southern Illinois.
The sisters will be there.
Yeah, Sister Jean will probably be there in attendance again. Southern Illinois, they started off pretty well this season. They've slumped lately. They lost 4 out of 5. They don't play well on the road. They just lost to Bradley over the weekend by 8 on the road. They've also lost a couple of home games to Northern Iowa and Drake along the way. Let's face it, Loyola Chicago, you're talking about a pretty good team. These teams will play again Thursday at Southern Illinois and Carbondale there. But the bottom line is, what it really boils down to is Southern Illinois does not score points. And that's a problem, especially when you deal with a Loyola Chicago team that's dangerous offensively. I think that the Ramblers will cover there to get the win at the Gentile Center in the Windy City. Colorado State, we already talked about. When you're 15-1 and you're 9-0 at home, things are going your way. And Nevada 1-3 on the road. They don't stop anybody on defense. And that's a problem. The Nuggets, this should say 7. I parked it at 7.5 because it was 7.5 and then they moved it down. We just talked about Detroit having issues. Don't look for anything there. And the Penguins over the Coyotes, everybody knows that Arizona is. We won't belabor the point any more than we have to. Penguins have a ton of momentum. They've won 5 in a row. They're pushing up to the top of the Metropolitan Division. Look for them to get the win at home at the PPG Paints Arena.
The Glass House, yes. All right, let's go 4 for the show.
Right, and we've got Charlotte going north of the border. They're getting 3.5 points against the Raptors. The injury report in this one shows Gordon Hayward is questionable. That's the only missing piece for the Hornets potentially. Kem Birch is out with a broken nose. Goran Dragic hasn't played with the Raptors since November. I don't even know why they still list him as being on the injury report with the designation not with team. How about took ball and went home? Be a lot easier. David Johnson and the health and safety protocols. I just don't have faith in the Raptors. I've seen them play too inconsistent all season. Charlotte's been on a good run of late, winning 7 of 10. Look for the Hornets to get the victory there. We talked about just to see with so many names going out of the lineup for New Orleans. It's now already moved to 11.5 since that updated injury report within the last hour. So that number is moving quickly as the Pelicans will be playing pretty much no one tonight. We talked about the Islanders and the Flyers. Philadelphia, what can you say that hasn't been said? They're 0-9-3 in their last 12. They don't score on the road. They've already lost 7 straight to the Islanders. They've lost the last 4 on the island. I could go on, but I won't because you're going to be bored to tears listening to how bad Philadelphia is. And Rhode Island at home over Richmond. A couple of good teams from the A-10. Chris Mooney, he's got a veteran-laden team there with Richmond. It's tough to go on the road and win in Kingston at the Ryan Center. Rhode Island's got a very good defense. They make things difficult. They're second in the nation in block percentage. They're 9th in 2-point field goal percentage. They're 13th in effective field goal percentage defense. I look for the Rams bounce back from that disappointing loss to George Washington the other night and get back in the win column at the expense of the Richmond Fighters, who will fall to 12-8.
Well, there we go. All right. We've had 2 for the money. We've had 4 for the show. And now it's time for what we like to call our you can't go wrong here. There's 2, there's 4, there's whatever you want. It's a great combination. It's our combo platter for Tuesday. So, Chris, show us the combo platter.
Right. Iona minus 15.5 over Siena. I know it's a big number, but let's face it, Rick Pitino's guys, the Gales, have played some great basketball this season. Let's not take away from the fact that they are 16-3 on the year. They're 7-0 at home. Meanwhile, Siena is 6-7 on the year. They don't score a ton either. It's tough to put a lot of faith in the Saints on the road. Wright State minus 2 over Northern Kentucky. We've talked a lot about Wright State. They've not, no pun intended, they've righted the ship after a slow start to the year. They started 2-7. Since that point, they've won 9 of 10 with their one loss a 3-point defeat at Youngstown State. They whipped IUPUI last week by 28 and then followed that up with a 97-81 road win over Illinois Chicago Saturday. They have some momentum going for them here. And Northern Kentucky just, they haven't really bowled anyone over. You look at it, they're 8-9. They've won 2 in a row, including that rock fight against IUPUI Saturday that ended 16-41. That was a road victory. But you're looking, they just haven't beaten anybody of substance. I like Wright State in that one. Auburn, suddenly the number 1 team in the country. You figure it out. They will be playing come tournament time thanks to annihilations and all that. They're favored by 13 on the road against a Missouri team that can't figure out how to get out of their own way some nights. I just don't trust Missouri's team, given their issues at stopping teams. You just saw Auburn beat Kentucky. It could be a little bit of a trap game because they have Oklahoma in the SEC Big Ten Challenge on Saturday. But still, I think that Auburn, they've won 15 straight since their one loss, which was a double overtime loss to Connecticut back in November. You have to think they can get the upper hand on a Missouri team that's just 8-10. Fonzo Martin's team has struggled. They're 2-4 in the SEC. I don't have any faith in them here, even at home. And our good buddies Rutgers, who screwed us over earlier in the year when we said they would lose 2. We haven't forgot about Ron Harper Jr. They're at home in Gateway tonight against Maryland. Maryland did have that win over Illinois on Friday. Once it came out that Cockburn wasn't going to play. I don't think lightning strikes twice. I don't think Ron Harper is going to trip over the line and twist an ankle or something before the game tonight. Look for Rutgers to get the win at home. They played good basketball at home this season. Maryland has not impressed anyone on the road. In the NBA, Washington -4 over the Clips. Injury report there. If you're wondering, nobody's hurt for Washington that means anything. They have Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura back, among others. Clippers won't have Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, which is no surprise to anybody. So it's pretty much all hands on deck for people that you were expecting. The Timberwolves -3 over Portland. What can we say about Portland?
That hasn't already been said.
Yeah, they've been horrible. They started the year, they were 10-1 at home. Since then, they've gone 4-10 at the Moda Center. Minnesota, they've exceeded expectations. They're sitting at 500 in this one. You know that Portland will not have Damian Lillard. He won't be back until March. And who knows if he'll even play then. This team is probably going nowhere fast. Larry Nance Jr. out with a foot injury, or a knee injury. Cody Zeller out with a fractured kneecap. Dennis Smith Jr., Nasir Little, Robert Covington, all probable. For the Timberwolves, it'll be Pat Bev is the one guy on the injury report. He's questionable with an ankle. I have to think Minnesota can get the win on the road there. San Antonio and Houston, God, that's how bad the docket is tonight in the NBA. The Spurs and the Rockets, 2 teams that are going nowhere. San Antonio has the only guys they have missing are all down on assignment in the G League, including Collins, which means he's on the comeback trail. The only guy missing for Houston, Usman Garuba, out with a wrist injury. If you know who he is, kudos to you because nobody pays attention to the Rockets. On the ice, Nashville -180 over Seattle. We've talked about playing at home. UC Saros and net for Nashville against Philippe Grubauer. Nobody's impressed by Grubauer. Edmonton -145 over Vancouver. This is how bad things are for Bruce Boudreau right now, Jim. In the COVID protocols. Yaroslav Malak, the backup goaltender, in the COVID protocols. They called up Martin. He's in the COVID protocols. So they're down to their 4th-string goaltender, Michael Don't Call Me Rick DiPietro. John, I'm sure, is very familiar with in the net tonight. He struggled against St. Louis the other day. For Edmonton to take advantage of a 4th-string goaltender and a Canucks penalty kill that is dead last in the league. which is dangerous when you look at the health of the early on the power play. And finally, we said Carolina over Vegas. It'll be Frederick Anderson versus Lord Prasad. Vegas coming off the second game of back-to-back after that win yesterday. Look for Carolina to get the win.
You know, where's Darren Pang when you need him, right? Pull him out of the broadcast booth. He's not doing anything. Let him talk. But
Go get Roberto Luongo.
Yeah. He had a couple of pretty wild seasons in Vancouver. So there you go. So
where's Kirk McLean? Where's Richard Brodeur?
Okay, let's Bueller. Any questions? Do we have any questions before we get out of here today?
Why is Wright State only favored by 2? Well, Ryan, that's because the game's in Northern Kentucky, and people think that the Norse can play better basketball playing at home. They're 5-3 at home, but it's 5-4 on the road.
If he's a fan of Wright State, he should be happy.
Well, I mean, this line actually opened where Northern Kentucky was favored by 1, so it's actually shifted to Wright State by 2. So apparently they're not convinced that Northern Kentucky's offense, which is 247 in scoring offense and 333rd in field goal percentage, can hang in there with the Raiders.
It doesn't sound that way, does it? Anybody else? Any final questions here? Going once, going twice.
People are still asking about Cockburn. The bottom line is nobody knows until probably, like you said, it probably will be for another hour or 2 before they determine anything regarding Cockburn's status tonight against Michigan State.
No, but they're going to hold that. They're going to hold that as long as they can. To be honest, they don't want they don't want the competition to get any feeling that they're not going to be facing him tonight. So, that they're going to hold on to that knowledge as long as they possibly can. And in basketball, you're allowed.
You don't know if you have to prepare for him or not.
Sorry?
So it's like you said, it'll make it tough because you don't know if you're going to have to prepare for him or not.
That's right. So they're gonna play that coy. So they're gonna Belichick him. Everybody's on the injured reserve list until they're not. So there you go on that one. Anything, Chris, that tonight that looks tempting to you? I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the
I don't have any faith in the Flyers, seeing that they're 0-9-3 in their last 12, and the Sounders beat them twice last week. I know you can say third time's the charm, but the Flyers have lost 7 in a row to them. So apparently that doesn't hold any water here. Then the big one is, like I said, Denver over the Pistons, and if you want to look at another college game, I know everybody's excited about the late game, which is Arizona and UCLA at the Poly Pavilion. That's going to be a game that you might want to DVR and watch.
Yeah, that should be pretty wild. To me, go ahead.
I was going to say it won't be open at 1 a.m., so you might want to record it and watch it tomorrow or something like that, because it's probably the best game on the docket when you get right down to it.
UCLA's been playing well. I saw them on Saturday, and they look really good. And so we'll see. But yeah, playing at Poly Pavilion is definitely an advantage for them, and they've got a good. They're getting some decent. They're getting decent minutes from their subs, which makes it even more important out there to playing at home. So good on them. For me, the one, if I had to look at one and say this was the one I would like to see, I would say we talked about it earlier. Carolina with that playing Vegas in that second of the back-to-back games. That might be something, since they did work very hard last night to get a much-deserved win on a 1-0 game. But there's plenty of fun stuff there for you. So if you didn't see it, not a problem. Just go back and rewind and check us out and take a look. It's there. So tomorrow, remember, first I should say, Scott and Scott will be coming up on the Whiners and Whiners Sports Betting Network at 3 p.m. And Scott Sheen may or may not talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. He mentioned them yesterday. So it might not.
I'm sorry? I said he wouldn't have mentioned them if things went the other way.
No, that's probably true, but he did. So he's got the opportunity, and so by all means, check them out at 3 o'clock. They're a lot of fun. We will be back at our special Wednesday time. Thank you, Chris, for you didn't have to remind me it's Wednesday tomorrow. This today I can figure it out. It's our special time of 1 p.m. tomorrow. So by all means, we'll be here and having fun. Hope that you guys join us because it's always fun when you do. And for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.